Hey, what's up guys? Samsung is one of the heavy hitters of the smartphone industry, so everyone's pretty excited about the new flagship, the Galaxy S9. But does it bring enough to be worth an upgrade from the Galaxy S8? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and this is our Samsung Galaxy S9 review. The Samsung Galaxy S9 brings back the design we loved in last year's S8, but with some refinements and upgrades. The build is made of glass with an aluminum frame, all watertight and IP68 certified. Glass phones are known to be slippery, but the S9 introduces a sharp edge that makes it easier to grip and hold onto. The S9's curved AMOLED display has even smaller top and bottom bezels than the S8's, but the screen diagonal and aspect ratio are the same, resulting in a slightly more compact size. The way the glass wraps around the sides brings back that immersive effect that we loved from last year. When the phone's asleep, you can see the time and notifications at a glance thanks to the always-on display. But turn it on and you'll see that the screen is quite bright, and sunlight legibility is great. Thanks to the curved edges, and the deep blacks typical of an AMOLED, watching content is really quite enjoyable. And now listening to content is more enjoyable too, thanks to the new stereo speaker setup. It's louder and you can really hear the separation between the two sides, giving a much fuller sound. Here's the same on the S8 for comparison. There's also support for Dolby 3D sound, which adds directionality to multi-channel audio. It's a neat effect which is most noticeable through a pair of headphones. And with the 3.5mm jack on board, there's no adapter needed. As for internal storage, there's quite a bit. There are versions with 64, 128, or 256 gigs, and it is expandable. The Fingerprint Reader is mounted on the back, and the placement is much improved this year. It's now in the center under the camera, and much easier to reach. Registering the fingerprint is quite easy too. Swipe your finger once or twice, and it's all set up. The reader itself is accurate to wake up your phone, but it's not the fastest we've seen on a flagship. Another method for unlocking is Intelligent Scan, which uses either face or iris recognition, whichever it reads first. On the S8, you can only do one or the other. Samsung is also bringing an improved biometric sensor system, which reads your finger to measure your heart rate or even blood oxygen level. Back again this year is the dedicated button for Bixby, the virtual assistant. It can be a source of frustration when it activates accidentally. Thankfully, there is an option to disable the button completely, though you still can't remap it to a different function. That said, Bixby is pretty helpful in that it allows you to have voice control over the functions of your phone. And Bixby Vision is now able to translate things on the fly for you pretty reliably, and it can even estimate calories from a picture of your food. The UI of the Galaxy S9 is the newest version of Samsung's user experience over Android 8 Oreo. It's quite similar to the interface we're used to from Samsung's recent phones, including the Edge panel and the Bixby panel. You can store your apps in an app drawer, and you can also customize your home screen through Samsung's theme store. One new feature is AR emojis. Snap a picture of yourself and the phone will use it to make your 3D avatar. You can then use this avatar to spice up your social media. The emojis are fun, and actually do kind of look like you. The Galaxy S9 runs on a next-gen chipset, a Snapdragon 845 in the USA or China, or an Exynos 9810 in other markets. In benchmarks, the Exynos-powered S9 has outstanding performance. It's in a whole different league than last year's flagships, scoring around 30% higher than the Exynos Galaxy S8. The increased speed of the processor is noticeable. Using the interface and opening apps feels nice and fluid. Thankfully, the increased speed hasn't affected battery life too much. Like last year, the S9 has a 3000 mAh battery. Battery life is mostly the same in our proprietary tests, scoring 78 hours overall. Charging speed hasn't seen any improvements, still nowhere as fast as the competitors. We got from 0 up to 38% in half an hour. There is the option for wireless charging though, just like last year. The S9's camera is a 12 megapixel single shooter, with OIS and super speed dual pixel face detection autofocus. Thanks to the new chipset, the camera has improved image processing and noise reduction, and 4 times faster readout of the sensor, which reduces rolling shutter. One issue though is that swiping on the screen now switches between different camera modes. So if you're not super precise when adjusting camera settings, you might end up switching to another mode instead. The camera's highlight feature is the variable aperture lens that can switch from a narrower f2.4 in good lighting to a wider f1.5 when it detects low light conditions. The f1.5 lets more light into the sensor, so you can shoot at lower ISO and pictures have less noise. It's not only the wide aperture. The multi-frame image processing and OIS help a lot too. As you can see, the image quality is great, with lots of detail, little noise, and no blurry spots. Regardless of aperture, daylight shots come out superb, among the best we've seen, with great detail, high dynamic range, and almost no noise. The narrower f2.4 aperture provides slightly better sharpness and contrast in good light, for the pixel peepers among you. Sharpening is not as excessive as on the Note 8, and you can see a bit better definition and fine details. The S9's camera is great to bring for a sunny day at the park, but it's not the only one of its kind. I ran into Angie, who was shooting with the S9 Plus. It has a virtually identical main cam, and we both walked away with some nice photos. But unlike the S9, the Plus has a secondary telephoto cam too, which allows for lossless zoom and bokeh effect. The S9 does have its own bokeh mode, but the background blur is done through software only, and it requires you to be much closer to your subject. Compared to the S9 Plus, both do a decent job, but blur on the Plus is more accurate around the edges and strands of hair. The S9's front-facing cam is 8 megapixels, and it has autofocus. Selfies are impressive, nice and sharp with plenty of detail. We tried this selfie bokeh mode while out at the park too. It's enjoyable but far from perfect. Selfie videos can be shot in QHD and look really good. In this challenging scene, the phone was able to maintain a decent exposure of my face at all times. When it comes to videos from the main cam, the S9 shoots great 4K at 30 FPS, and HEVC codec saves space. We were surprised to see that the real frame rate is around 25 FPS though, something we didn't observe on the S9 Plus. The S9 can also shoot in 4K at 60 FPS, which is a first for Samsung. Just like the 30 FPS videos, they look awesome, with the added benefit of being much smoother. However, the recording length is limited to only 5 minutes. Another first is super slow-mo video capture. It records a short burst at 960 FPS, allowing you to freeze a specific moment in time. We've seen a similar feature in Sony's XC2, but here there's the option for motion activation, which makes capturing some moments much easier. We had a lot of fun recording these videos, but they're quite niche and require plenty of light. So yes, as expected, the Galaxy S9 is everything the S8 was, and more. Again, you have the sleek build, the infinity display, and awesome camera, but now Samsung has reworked the things that people weren't happy with. There's not a lot left to complain about, except, well, we might just be spoiled, but there really isn't anything groundbreaking here. Variable aperture is neat, but it's hard to really see the advantages of the narrow f2.4. And super slow-mo and animated emojis we've seen before from competitors, and they never really caught on. If you're looking for that cutting-edge Samsung device and money is no issue, the S9 or its brother the S9 Plus are the way to go. Otherwise, you can find almost the same in last year's model at a more reasonable price. We'll have to see if Samsung pushes the envelope a bit more for the next one. Thanks for watching. You can always visit gsmarena.com for our full test findings. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss Angie's S9 Plus review next week. See you!